Do you recognise the issues expressed in these comments? What might have been the problem? Caring for people with dementia relies on effective, sensitive communication, being aware of and, where possible, adapting the hospital environment, and most importantly, getting to know your patient. Click Start Course to find out more.
It's possible that this is your first experience of using an e-learning program, so let's quickly run through how you move around it. Click the Text Version tab to access a text-only version of the course. Clicking the Menu button will access the course menu. This allows you to jump to any module or page in the course. Click the Help button to get further information about this course. The Resources button gives access to supporting documents and a glossary. Clicking the Accessibility button gives you keyboard support settings for visually impaired users. Standard audio controls change the volume and turn on and off the narration. Screen numbers tell you where in the course you are. You can use the buttons to move forward or back through the course. The Refresh button reloads the screen. Click Exit Course to leave the course.
Hello, emergency services operator. Which service do you require? Fire, police or ambulance?
Hello? I need an ambulance. My wife's 78. She's fallen over. Now she can't get up. She's in lots of pain.
I'll just connect you now.
Okay, Mrs. Wallace, we'll have you at the hospital in no time.
Who are you? What's going on?
Don't worry, Mrs. Wallace, we're just checking your blood pressure. Here we are, Mrs. Wallace. The doctors and nurses will take you from here.
Remember, patients with dementia might not recognise familiar cues such as sirens, uniforms and equipment, or understand what's happening to them. They might be confused and frightened. Understanding the patient's perspective and empathise is an important aspect to caring for patients with dementia.
Mrs. Wallace has injured her leg and is now in the emergency department for initial assessment and treatment. Click on Mrs. Wallace's curtains to experience the emergency department as Mrs. Wallace experiences it. What's it like? Hello, Mrs. Wallace. My name's Hannah, and I'm a nurse here at the hospital. So, Mrs. Wallace, where do you live? And what's your date of birth? You've had a fall and we need to keep an eye on your leg for a while. Where's your husband? Has he gone to get a cup of tea? Do you think you could just sit up? Okay, Mrs. Wallace, I've taken your blood pressure and that's all okay.
How did Mrs. Wallace find the first few minutes in the emergency department? It's the second night Mrs. Wallace has been in hospital. Both nights she's been awake at night time and has wandered into the nurse's lounge and indicated she wants a cup of tea. What do you do?
You discover that Mrs. Wallace was a hotel receptionist. She worked shifts and drank tea through the night. Now you know this information. How will you adapt your behaviour towards Mrs. Wallace?
To complete this course on dementia, you need to answer 60% of the following 10 assessment questions correctly. Click the Start Quiz button to begin the assessment.